This is going to be a presentation about how my Batman movie would be like. First, I would like it to be the first ever R-rated horror Batman film. This story will be centered around Batman having to investigate a set of murders inside Arkham Asylum, a place where the criminally insane go. So the worst of the worst. And while he goes through deeper and deeper in this asylum, floor by floor, he starts uncovering this new truth that no one actually in the city actually know. That is, what's actually going on in this place. Who's running it? Are the criminals running it? Are the insane running the asylum? Who is actually the insane in an asylum like this? So this movie will be centered around Batman as a psychologically deranged character. It won't be crazy. It will be the Batman that we all know and love, but he would only be 5 years into his career. So he has actually fought many villains. He's grown as a character, but he's not yet the Batman. So it will be a very interesting story about how he learns that vengeance is not the way and how you get true justice. How would you make the Batman go from that to this point? Well, the villain of the story will be Dr. Crane, the Scarecrow, but he's not yet fully created the Scarecrow character, so he's just Dr. Crane for the moment. He's a doctor who has experienced a lot of trauma in his life, a lot of horrific events. So he actually started growing on how does fear work? How does people actually get scared of things? Why does people are scared of many things? But once that he finds out that this character, this Batman, basically has no fear of nothing, that will be very interesting to him. He would like to investigate who is this person? Why is this person like this? So he will be the villain of the story because he will create all of this scenario to drag the Batman in and start exploring him, torturing him physically and psychologically to know who is he, why does he does what he does, what takes a man to dress up like a bat and start punching criminals so hard that actually bleed. So this story will be similar to Martin Scorsese's um, Sinister Island with Leonardo DiCaprio. So it will be similar in tone of who can you trust, making you doubt yourself, yeah, about who's the who's the good people, who's the bad people. I mean, because you see, in this scenario, I mean, if crazy people are running on the streets, you start panicking and doing things that maybe you wouldn't do in your daily life. So who is actually the insane? Are we all insane in the inside, or is it just that some people are truly just very insane? And because of the success that Joker and Matt Reeves' Batman uh, is having, well, this gives us the opportunity to actually explore these characters in a more uh, grown up way, in a more outrated way, because people are actually wanting to see stories that are actually deeper, artistic, and new and fresh. So they don't want to see the same Batman that they write in the comics uh, centuries ago. So they want to see new stuff, new stories. They want to be amazed, scared, or anything. And I think the Batman is the perfect character to put in a horror genre scenario. Well, after this, each character will represent its own thing. Dr. Crane will be the fear and the insane part that we all have. Batman will be what actually would be us in a situation because he's damaged, but he knows what's right. He wants to help people. That's what drives him. And I would like to have Harvey Dent as the mayor in the asylum, and he's actually running for governor in the state. So he's a man that actually firmly believes in justice. But what happens if you take that justice away from him and put him in this insane place? So it will actually start to change him too, and his perception of justice, about how the system is not actually fair, about how just between you and me a flip of a coin is just easier and better. In this case, I would like to have Harvey Dent not just burn his face, but he having to rip off half of his face, because he thinks once he kills a man in this story, by defending himself, he thinks that justice is has not been made because he is fine. So he thinks that he needs to represent both sides of these people, to actually be a representation of the society. So he takes one part of him, which represents the insane part of him, and the normal part that we all have, the yin and the yang. And well, after all this, I think this journey will be interesting because we have not seen any of these characters in a horror scenario, and we get actually I want to get actually the point of view of the criminals from Batman. So I want the audience to see how the criminals react when Batman enters the room, and this will be the scenario when Batman actually will be the Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger in the horror genres. Like, he will be the scary man, and this bunch of criminals will be the ones that are actually going to try to run away from him. And we'll see why and how does he actually uh, create fear in these criminals. We're gonna actually see by their point of view, and this will be a very interesting sequence to see because we have not seen it. And by talking about how much the film will cost, I think we can do it with a fairly low budget, because you don't need big special effects. You don't need all of that. Just need great actors, great cinematography, lighting, and composition of the frame. So I think that the budget will be around 100 or $35 million, a fairly low budget, and I think this would actually be received well for the audiences right now, because people are actually scared of what they see. They are very scared of who can you trust in the street. I mean, your friend can be insane, your uncle can be insane, anyone in the street can be insane, and people are actually talking more about that. Even the police is actually right now being 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 more like the criminals instead of the actual criminals. So this will be all be explored in this film. And well, that's my idea, my personal idea of what my Batman movie would be like. It's still in very early stages. It's not fully completed, but I would like you to think about it. What would you like to see in a Batman film like this in a horror genre? Do you think it's interesting? Do you think it's not interesting? And I would like to hear your thoughts and leave you with the idea. Maybe you think it's still not time for something like that, or maybe you think a story like that is actually necessary now more than ever. So thank you so much for your time, for listening, and I hope you at least will go with the idea of Batman being maybe a villain in some people's eyes. Maybe he's more like us that we don't know. So thank you so much, and I hope you had a great time.